So I'm going to talk through this one slowly, and I'm probably going to have to give more of a personal testimony because we're talking about legal documents. I am going to put this preface here to turn around and say that if you're serious about your move and you're serious about really trying to make a long-term plan, then you're going to sit down and you're going to discuss the legal documents and you're going to go through these things. A lot of people just get up and leave, and you can. But there's a lot of problems that happen on the back end of things. And if you take out the time ahead of time to figure out the best moves, you prevent a lot of headache. So this one might be a little bit lengthy, but we're going to talk through it, like I said, because this is all about a discussion. Now, the very first thing that I did is I actually got in touch with my lawyer friend and told her I wanted to be in a full lawyer capacity. And I did state that I was leaving. I was not sure. And I don't even say I was not sure. I told her I wasn't coming back. So if I wasn't coming back, what would be the things that I needed to do legally to make sure things were taken care of? And we talked, and we had to do, and I think I demanded the power of attorney, which at that point in time I gave to my mother. I did my will, and that had to be notarized and information given. And then I did my medical, and I'm not sure what it's called. And I'm sorry off the top of my head, but in the notes I'm going to have the correct name. And those were all three distinctive things that had to be notarized. They're actually in my Google Drive. My mother has a full copy of all of them. My lawyer has a full copy of that. And I made sure that I put anybody who I put onto it has that information, because that was serious. My will was very intentional. I think it's about 3 pages long, where I laid out my expectations. I also laid out, and that was very important to me, my expectations for my funeral. And that's another piece. What happens is, if you do not have that information laid out, if you were to pass away and the body was to have to fly back, if you don't have these medical documents and all this written, sometimes that's forced. That flight could be up to $10,000 because they're carrying either ashes or a dead body. That is a very expensive piece that ends up getting fined to the family or whatnot. So I definitely put, at least in mine, I did not want that. I wanted to be buried here or wherever I was. Actually, wherever I fall out, I'm out. I'm out the game. Like, I'm pretty cool. Just let me be one with the earth. Put me in the sky. I'm good. But that was really important because during that conversation with my family, I realized there's a group of my family members that are really big on open casket and closure. And so that conversation there opened that up, so we were able to have our closing and our conversation there. So they would not be the ones to be able to make decisions, because the biggest thing I put, which is in the will, is that for me, if I passed away, I did not want to be a financial burden. So like, a lot of stuff is already written in there to not become a financial burden. I don't want my family flying me back. I don't want them doing this. I really kind of stated I really didn't want a funeral. I just wanted a memoriam service instead. And I even put, for me, I put the music that I wanted type played and all that other stuff, because I was very particular about that. Actually, in my life insurance policy payout, don't be getting no ideas, I positioned a percentage of money that could be used for those costs, and then percentages that will be done for other things. I say that because that's very important, because you want the correct legacy that you leave behind to be done. If not, there's been a lot of burning and losing of money. There's been a lot of different things that can happen. So the will is very important, and it should be notarized. You should have your lawyer have it, and then whatever happens, me and my lawyer have a communication plan, so she knows if something happens that she should be on the protocol, because I don't think that are before then, my family would have known that she has that information. So you got to make sure that that's streamlined, where whoever's what has that contact number and knows that that is the space of what needs to happen. The second one that was very important was the God, it's the medical form, and it's like the right to resuscitate, the right to, and then at what point do you want pullets pulled or different things like that. I was very cautious. Number one, who you put down. There's like three people you end up putting down. Who you put down is very important. So make sure that you have that updated and legalized. And the truth for me is my mother is not the person who makes the final decision. It would be my sister, only because my sister actually is in the medical field. And I knew that if something that happened to me, that can be an emotional decision when I need it to be a logical decision at that point. And I just felt like certain people who loved me were tied too closely to the emotions, and it needed to be logical. So that was a very strategic piece. And you're going to have to go through for every single scenario. That was one of the longest papers that I had to write out, because it was, well, if you're doing this, if you show an allergic reaction, what do you want done? If you show this, what do you want done? You take the time out and you write that entire piece. It is very, very important to write all of that out. And it's already, it's templates done. I have 2 lawyers, depending on where you are, that can give you that information. I'm going to see if there's paperwork that you can do to look at it. I'm going to see if I can put it in below. If not, I just don't know if you have to have a lawyer to have that paperwork or not. Those were the 3 major legal documents that need to be done. Power of attorney, the will, and the medical release form. I'm going to give this side note here. So this is your bonus, is that you want to have very serious conversations about your life insurance policy. You want to have a serious conversation about your retirement policy. And when I say serious conversation, it doesn't make sense for me to tell you a serious conversation and you don't know what about. You need to know the terms of your life insurance policy. And no matter what you have, you want to research that terms against others. For me, I found out that my life insurance only paid out like this part that's supposed to help you out during your medical cases when you're in hospice, which was like a no for me. If I'm in hospice, like, dude, that's hospice is 10 days from goodbye to me. Actually 4, but and what actually happened is I did research, and one thing is when you leave the continent, when you leave the country, when you leave America, policies look a lot different and you still qualify for them. I have a different life insurance policy. I got it originally through the UAE. It covers me no matter where I move to in the States. Not in the States, here, wherever I move to. What I didn't realize before is the life insurance policy in the U.S. only covered me if I died on U.S. ground. I could not die as a resident of another country. Those are questions that you want to ask. You want to ask to make sure the medical conditions that it covers. You want to turn around and ask, like, the hospitals or anything of what it covers. You want to get very direct and pinpoint and ask questions. This is another one where I was told one thing by the agents, and it ended up not being true. And you have to be careful because agents are only trained to know what they're supposed to know. And so not every time do they know the direct questions that you're trying to ask. And that caused me a big disagreement with my agent. I realized later he just did not know because they're not trained for our kind of cases. The life insurance company I have now is a phenomenal job, and they actually cover me like in over 60 scenarios. Cost a lot less than what I was paying, and for the same type of coverage. But I will say you definitely want to have the life insurance. One, to me, that's just responsible. 2, dealing, once again, if you're dealing with burial cost or different things like that, not knowing your finances, especially since you're out of the country, people might have to be flying back and forth to do things. The life insurance policy supports supports the finances it takes in order to handle business. If you come out here and start a business, if you come out here and you buy land, if you come out here and do anything, you're going to have somebody who becomes over that. And you don't, I don't know, you and use your family member, but that's why you want to be able to have that money freed up so business can be handled. Because if you come out here and you start building a legacy, how does that legacy stay? How do your wishes stay? Now, the one thing I will say at this point in time that I have not done is research those legal documents here in Rwanda. So that's something that will come in the future. And when I do, it will definitely be in the course, and I will send out a mass message to everyone who's already here to let them know that we've updated that to see how it is. But I will say, you want to look into that. You want to look into putting into your retirement. You want to check, and I know this one now, the stocks in your retirement plan if you're doing that, and if those stocks are actually matriculating and moving at a pace. You want to know what stocks that you're invested in. You want to know how those decisions are picked. Are you in the best of brand? Are you really pulling it together? Because from what I've learned recently, they just put some stuff together, and no, if you can have a say-so over what stocks that are picked or not, you really want to take a course. You really want to talk to somebody. Maybe one day that day will be me. You could talk to me. I'm still learning. But you want to be able to ensure that the stocks that you have are stocks that are best in brand, which means that they're number one in their entities and they're going to grow regardless. When I say number one, if I turn around and say Apple, you already know who that is. If I say Microsoft, you already know who that is. But if I turned around and said Exxon, which is wrong, or IBM, you haven't heard from them in a long time, which IBM is still a strong company, but they're not best in brand. They're not the top ones you think of. Your top companies, no matter what, are going to have enough capital to turn around and do what the competition does. It's going to be very hard if they've been in business for 20 years plus for anybody to come and overcast them or do anything. And that's what's good about best in brand when you're talking about stocks in long term, is because you want somebody that's always going to perform, that no matter what, they're always going to bet. I don't care how old Michael Jordan is. I still will turn around and say right now, if you just had to make a shot from anywhere on the court, you might have old bones, but you have smooth follow through, you're going to hit it. And so that's what you want. You want a stock that's been good. It's good. It's as good as, I was going to say, Teddy Pendergrass song. Like as soon as you hear it, you know what it is because it always comes through. And so that's what you want to make sure you're doing with your legal documents. You want to spend a good week going through everything, printing it out, asking questions, highlighting, and going on YouTube, researching and finding out, are you covered the way you feel you should be covered? Because when you move across the country or across the continent, it's going to be hard to have those decisions, and you don't want to find out things on the back end, and you want to be freed up to be able to do the work that you want to be done. One thing about finding your freedom that I'm really big about, you coming out here and finding your freedom, is carrying your legacy. I had to find my freedom so I could carry and define my legacy. So these documents are the documents that help you create those conversations and make those changes so you can do those things. Okay.